Good afternoon. I'm Charles Gibson at ABC News headquarters in New York. There is an airplane down in the Hudson River right off Manhattan.
The temperatures in New York City are absolutely frigid.
Since the moment we learned everybody on board was safe, the crew members of U.S. Airways Flight 1549 have been hailed as heroes.
Our next guests were also vitally instrumental in saving the lives of all 155 people on board. Please welcome three more heroes, the flight attendants from U.S. Airways Flight 1549, Doreen Welsh, Donna Dent, and Sheila Dale. Kids, come on out.
We just had an opportunity to see Doreen Welsh give her inspirational story on 90 Seconds Till Impact here at the Giant Eagle Management Meeting. And I was a little apprehensive at first, wasn't sure how the discussion was going to go and how it could be related to our business, but it was just terrific. I have about 150 people here at the session, a mixture of management people in the company, and they just loved it. It went very well, and I highly recommend Doreen to any management meeting that you have in mind.
Doreen, and if you could just tell me what it was like being back there and knowing what you had to tell all of the passengers about what was happening.
Well, no one really knew. I mean, I've been flying long enough to know that something definitely happened, but I assumed that an engine went out and we were circling back to go back to LaGuardia and land, which, you know, we've all been through a million times. Not a million, but a lot. A common, not uncommon.
Just as I pulled it tight, I heard the three words come from the cockpit that I had trained for 38 years, but never thought I would hear for real. Never. After all of this, and not a word, all I hear is brace for impact. What went through my body at that moment was beyond fear, beyond terror, beyond anything, any word I could possibly use to describe it. That's it. That pretty much means that you're going to die. Brace for impact means you're crashing. Those words would never be used as a precautionary measure or maybe things on. It means you're going down, the end.
But brace for impact is something you've trained for. You know what that means. And so then what do? You start screaming, brace, brace, brace. Is that what happens? Yeah. And did the passengers know how to respond to that?
Mine did, which was, you know, I had the rowdy group earlier, but they did know how to respond.
Right.
Because they were all in there. So somebody read their card or did something.
What is it about you? Boy, and people will be reading that in the event of a water landing card now, like it's the Old Testament, won't they? But what is it about your group? I'm getting the sense that you had the problem kids back there. What?
Well, the back of the airplane was always more active and fun. I don't know. They got on first. They were rested. You know how? Remember years ago, whenever the smoking section was back there, they put those little signs. Front half was quiet, and everybody else was having drinks and cigarettes. They were all crazy. It's still like that without the smoking.
Well, that's great.
Well, I found Doreen's talk to be unbelievably inspirational. Doreen is not only a wonderful storyteller, it's a storyteller in which everyone can learn something. I came away really hoping that if I ever found myself in a situation, I could be as brave as she was. And also hoping that as my kids grow up, that I do as good a job teaching them to be good kids and like me as she has done with her son. So Doreen, thank you, because this is a really inspirational moment for me.
I crashed at 3:30. When I opened my eyes after surgery, that was the first face that I saw. He got there by 8 o'clock that night. Pretty amazing. And Eddie McDonald got him to a back door somewhere that got him right to me. And once I saw him, I was okay. I knew that I wasn't alone. I was okay. Everything, I mean, didn't know how big the story was yet, but it was going to be all right.
When I came home from the hospital, and I got home at midnight, so there were just 2 cars in front of my house, and that was U.S. Air Security. And I thought, well, that's great. What is this about? And the next morning, my son woke me up and he said, "You have got to come and see this."
Really?
And I live on a small dead-end street, as far as you could see, media.
Wow.
And my son said, I'll never forget this, he said, "I have to take the dog out. What do I do?" And I said, "Well, you have to take the dog out." And the minute he went outside, and I've learned this since, they're not allowed to come to your door, but if you're outside, you're fair game. He walked out the front yard with the dog, and every car door opened at the same time,
Really?
and just pounced on him. And, I mean, it was all the local TV stations. It was the Today Show, Good Morning America, newspapers. It just went on, and gift baskets were coming from
Really?
Good Morning America, and flowers, and it said Ellen DeGeneres, and I mean, who goes for
And I
this?
could not tell for the longest time where that water level was because it had hit so hard, it was like the ocean. It was waves out there.
In the back of the cabin, one woman ran up and opened the back door.
So she came flying, pushed me past me, and just started grabbing at that door crazy. She said, "Open the door, open the door." I had no idea we were on water, so I was, whoa, shock, the biggest shock I've ever had in my life.
I found Doreen Welsh's speech today so inspirational. I think it was really enlightening to hear the behind-the-scenes story of what actually happened that day, and the lessons learned from it were incredible. So I'm very happy to hear what she had to say today.
We invited some of the passengers to reunite with them in Charlotte, North Carolina, the city that was supposed to be the final destination for Flight 1549.
He said, "My son was one of the people in the back, one of the last people that you got out of there." And he said, "I've watched all of this with you and your son and him on shows, and I know you understand." He said, "I needed to see you in person and shake your hand or possibly give you a hug." He said, "You saved my son's life." He said, "What can I say to you?" And we fell into each other's arms, and I said, "You're very, very welcome." And I hugged his son. The three of us kind of had a group hug. But that moment, I realized I did the right thing by staying back. So if I have some water dreams, I have some water dreams and some nightmares, but...
Well, I didn't know what to expect when Doreen started her talk. We all were somewhat familiar with what happened on the Hudson that day, and were amazed with just how the crew handled it and all of the survivors, and obviously no one perished. But I was really touched personally by the story, her closeness with her son, how she dealt with and confronted almost dying, and how she dealt with the passengers and how her adrenaline took over. I found it to be very touching, very emotional, and at the end I had to run up and give Doreen a hug because I connected with the story so well.